Well, I started tearing into the wipers because the bushings are shot and they won't park all the way. I'm gonna try to get all this linkage out of here. We're gonna take it all out. I think that's the only way to do this. The pivots, let's see. They're just sloppy. I mean, and these don't come apart. But those two, see this one of them hooks to the motor, which we can put a bushing on the motor, I think. And then the other one hooks right here. So this comes over and rides on that. I think we can put a bushing in there. And then a clip goes over that. So that shouldn't be a problem. Put something over here. Well, I'm guessing the bushing was on this. So let me get my bushing kit. We'll see what we got on it. All right, so I bought this like universal bushing kit. It comes with several different styles. I figured that was my best bet to at least just get started on this to see if I can make any of this work. And I think we're gonna scrap this and send it back. Amazon is like $3 because none of that's gonna work. None of it will fit over this piece, and none of it is open-ended where you could get a clip on for this piece. So I think what we're gonna do, if you look at this, the way they did this originally was they basically took and slipped this, put a bushing on this little stud, slipped it in, then peened the end over, and that's, non-serviceable. So I think we're gonna grind this off, push this out, and then we'll come up with some kind of a stud in here. We'll either screw it in with a nut on the back side. What we could do, let's see, if we threaded this, screwed a bolt in with a nut on the back side as well, kind of use, the nut is like a double nut, thread it into here and then double nut basically on the back side to lock that stud in place. I think that would work well. And then we could put a nylon bushing with maybe 2 nylon washers, kind of sandwiching that in. Nylon bushing to fit on the inside, and then 2 nylon bushings to kind of hold it, in place to keep it from floating up and down. Kind of a similar deal here. Slip a nylon bushing over it with, that one will be easy, we don't have to do the stud, but nylon bushing with, some nylon washers stacked up here to kind of center this. Or you could even put like some kind of a metal spacer with a nylon bushing just to get it up. Originally this would have had some kind of a, probably rubber bushing in there that's disintegrated that was made in to fit in there. And then that's what held that bushing in place, that little ridge. And then it was held sandwiched in that ridge there. And so it held it right there in the middle. But we don't have that, so we're gonna come up with a way to do that. But we're gonna make this where it's serviceable, so, and whatever bushings I find and use to work on this, probably buy some extras and just kind of stash them away. So if this wears out again, we'll just pop this assembly out again and, put some bushings and stuff in here. I think we have the same kind of issue on the motor. There's something like this on the motor of a leftover bushing. If I remember right, I think I threw a piece of hose over it because I pulled this motor out because it didn't work, and I cleaned all the contacts in here and got it working again. So we'll take this motor out, look what we've got there, but we're gonna have to do whatever we come up with right here. We're gonna have to do the same thing on the motor. So, okay, so this is what I've come up with so far. So I punched that pin out. I don't even know where I put it, but punched it out, and then I tapped this. This is 3/8. The hole was perfect. It was like 5/16 hole. So I just tapped it to 3/8. So, and that is the same, you know, basically yeah, this fits tight on there. That's what I'm trying to say. So, I mean, like a bushing should. So I think we're gonna use this, or we're gonna use some kind of spacer like this to help get this distance right here. And then also, you know, we can tighten this down to make it hold better. Then we'll probably put like a nylock on the back side of this. This is just a bolt I had. I don't know, we may use this bolt, may not, I don't know. But that's kind of what I've come up with a washer here that mimics the flat part of the original bolt that will cage this in, with probably a nylon bushing in here with a nylon washer on each side is what I'm playing around with. Similar, this is similar to what we have over here. So I think whatever we come up with as a plan here, we're gonna do a similar idea for those. So you can see this is what I did. I just ground the back side of this down, supported this whole assembly, and drove the pin out. And that seemed to work well. So I'm gonna do that for this one. Then I'm gonna take all this mess to the store, and we're gonna start some figuring out here. So let's talk about these wiper arm bushings and what I came up with. So, you know, here's our normal end. As you can see, that inside, there's an inside groove in there. This outside diameter is about 5/8. You can see this one looks pretty good. I've got a couple that are worn. Let's see a little bit. That one's a little wallowed out, and we definitely need to clean these up. You can see this one's a little egg shaped as well, and that's just from, you know, using wipers with no bushings. Now the actual bushing part about this, or part of this, I started thinking about this, the pivot is not in here. The pivot is here, inside of here. So I'm really not sure why they did it like this. I mean, because like I said, the pivot, where it's gonna turn is the metal on the shaft. Like, that's just what it's gonna do. It's not gonna sit here and turn in there. It's just not gonna do that. I mean, it could a little bit, but not the way they've got it designed. So I'm really not sure why they did it like this, and it's probably why you can't find parts for it. They probably didn't do it too long, because it really was not a good idea. But let me show you. You can see this is a completed one. If you can probably guess what I've done here. So this is what I've got. This is 5/8 by 1/2 by 1/2. I think you can get these at Lowe's. I got this one at Tractor Supply. There's the lot number 73869. It's by, well, grab another package of them. And I grabbed these just in case I kind of had to come up with a different plan. But so these, here you go, 5/8 by 1/2 by 1/2. So 5/8 outer diameter, 1/2 inch tall, or whatever you want to say, and then 1/2 inch inside diameter. Could be in a different order, but Hillman brand. And the thought I had here was these are 5/8 on the outside. The inside is too small to fit around. I thought, well, if I have to do this without that metal bushing piece, then I could drill this out to fit around the bolt and put this in the thing. And then I also grabbed a bunch of nylon washers and stuff, because we're gonna put nylon washers basically on each side of this, so if it ever does try to drop out of that bushing, it really can't go anywhere. But let me grab one of the extra bushings and I'll show you what we've done. All right, I just brought a bunch of stuff out here to the shop, so ignore the box of stuff. I had to order some Amazon stuff, and that's our Lowe's and our Tractor Supply. And that's the tool we used for this. We could have used a press, we could have used vise. The soft jaws I have for my vise are rubber, so they don't work good for pressing stuff in. I need to make some like aluminum ones, and I just didn't feel like setting up the press for this. So a little C-clamp works great. So here is those little nylon bushing, and then here's our stock bushing. I'm gonna assume they probably had rubber around this. It could have been nylon, but basically this diameter here is 1/2 inch. So this will barely start in here, but you hit that shoulder. But if you press it on, what you end up with is this. So you've got 5/8 here, 5/8 here, and larger than 5/8. So you can't push this through here. It's too large in the middle. But again, mine's kind of worn, so I feel like it would be a tighter fit, even if you got to this quicker. But fits just a little loose right there, but it won't go through. But if you bend these tabs up, these 3 tabs, you can separate this into 2 pieces. Now I'm gonna have to clean this up a little bit, but what we're gonna end up doing is we're gonna drop this in there, fits right in there just nice, and then we're gonna put this piece back on, and once we do, we will have a nice fit. Now it may have just a little bit of slop, we'll see, but I mean, I can't think of any better way to do this. And like I said, we will space any extra space. We're going to put a nylon bushing so that even if it drops off, drops out, what I'm worried about is, not that the bushing is going to go anywhere, but if this bump is not enough to keep it centered, I guess. So if it ever pops out of that, I don't want it to be flopping around in there. So we'll put some nylon washers as little bushings on each side to help keep this thing centered up. And I did get some that I think will go over this, so we can put one over that, like on this back side, put one over that would fit flush. I don't know. I just grabbed an assortment. We'll see what we come up with, but I think this is going to work well. All right, so we got it back together. We got one down. As you can see, they fit tight. They do have just a little bit of movement, but they will not pop out. So I think that's where our little washers are going to help out to keep it centered. I think, like I said, I feel like they probably were filled with rubber, and that little bump, I mean, it kind of works, but it's really just not enough. But I mean, it's really my best option here, so that's what we're going with. So what we've got, those studs, took those out, and so we're replacing them with these bolts. So as long as everything's good, we'll put some red Loctite there and on here, and we'll just know if we ever have to replace these bushings, we'll have to heat it, and if we're heating it, the bushings are gone anyway. I just don't want this to come off. Okay, so I've got them greased up, and then I cleaned the threads off. and they're Loctited to here. You remember we threaded this, and then the nylock, which is barely showing out the end, probably not really doing much, but to be honest, just the double nut effect of this threaded tighten up against this nut super tight would probably lock this all together. But we do have red Loctite on the nylock, plus, you know, like just barely part of the nylock, barely threading to the nylock. I just didn't want bolts sticking out really far. The next bolt size would have been a 1/4 inch longer, so we basically would have had a 1/4 inch of thread sticking out. So I went at this. I don't think there's any way that thing's ever coming off. I'm going to come up with a couple of nylon spacers to kind of get this. My goal is to make this to where if this pops out, you know, it's still kind of locked in like we did here. You know, it's got these nylon washers kind of holding the sides. So I'm going to make some of those for here, and I'm just taking nylon washers and then drilling them out to the right size. All I'm doing. And yeah, so coming together. Once we get that one done, I need to grab the wiper motor and we'll figure out what needs to be done on this end where it attaches. Okay, so let's go over what we got here. So, you know, assortment of spacers, nylon washer spacer things. So we've got 2 of them right there to space it up to the basically the riding point where the bushing rides. Then we got one slipped over the bushing, and that's just to kind of encapsulate it. So it's actually pushing it over towards that way, and it's tight. We didn't need a bushing on this side. We didn't even have room for it. And then we got our clip. You can see we've got a bushing on the inside, a bushing on the outside. Those are drilled out to fit over our nylon bushing, so it's basically sandwiching the arm. And then there's a thin little washer there, and then our clip. And I mean, that thing is good. So what we need to do is run the motor now and make sure there's no binding or anything. All right, we've got it running. I don't know what speed it's on, but it's on some speed. And I don't see any issues there. Look, it all looks good there. And then on our motor side, you can see where that's gonna have, I really wanted to get that thing supported well, because that's definitely the most movement and also the most stress. Sorry, y'all are upside down. Best way I can get the camera in. But if you want to know how a wiper works, that's how it does. The motor makes a complete circle so that it, you know, as it's making that circle, it's pushing out. When it gets to the furthest extension point, it comes, you know, it's making a full circle, so it's coming back. That's what pulls the arms back. So this arm has to be able to go up and down, because on the push out stroke, it's going up, and then the pull back stroke, it's going down. So that arm is going like this, as you can see. Works well. That clicking you hear is in the motor. I don't know why, but. And I did take this motor apart because it didn't work. When I got this car, cleaned it all up, greased everything up. The contacts were dirty in it. Got all that working, so we saved that wiper motor, and it's all greased up. Messed with the wipers until I got them where they were up against these stops. That's where they were before. This one, I didn't go quite as low because it's coming off the windshield. We may need to look at that. This one's got this extra little arm, and I did do white grease on these. So yeah, I guess let's see what happens here. We may need to redo how this one parks. And that one is up against it. This one, it was either slightly off of it or like right here, depending on how the splines lined up. So we went with it slightly off of it. All right, let's just put these on. We're gonna put them on delay. So we go backwards with the knob. And see, that seems really high up for that blade. I think it needs to go down one more, but I don't know. I mean, I guess it's out of your view. Let's just see what it does when we park it. Cleaning the windshield for us. So that should park, right? Why is it not parking? We have an issue with the motor. Park may not be working correctly. What if we turn them on and then go to park? So that's on. Okay, they parked there. Okay, so here's what we need to look at. This is where they're parking. Okay, so on this motor, or on that arm, we're 1/4 inch off, but we're almost off the glass. So I think we're gonna leave that one there. This one's also off the glass, but I feel like it's too high. So we're gonna take this one, we're gonna move it down 1 notch and see what that looks like. All right, so I went back and checked the wipers, and I can't actually move them down another spline. That puts them down too low. They would hit that stop before they parked. So this is just as low as they'll go, which I think once we get the hood on, you know, they're going to be well below the cowl. So I think they're going to be fine after looking at the hood again. So we're going to leave it here. I think, you know, these turned out really good, and I think they'll hold up. So that's going to do it. Let me know what you would have done differently if you've got any ideas, because, you know, I may end up having to redo these one day. So let me know what you would do. And thanks for watching. Leave a comment down below, hit the like button, and subscribe for more.